We've just seen the next generation Toyota Corolla. It looks incredible. So what is even more interesting is that this time it's been spotted as a full electric vehicle, not as a hybrid or anything like that. A nice big motor and a really, really nice design. It's not a really wild concept either. So Toyota usually keeps its production cars very, very, very close to what you see in the early reveals or at car shows and that sort of stuff. And this one might be one of the best looking cars they've ever made. I mean, I was never a big fan of the Prius when they started getting all sort of techno and weird with it, but they look really good. This is a really complete package. So the design, really sharp, really low, quite a bit sporty than you'd imagine for a Toyota, and it's got that same sort of confident, maybe crisp and futuristic sharp front end that we're used to seeing on the new Prius, but they've done it all the way down the side and all the way at the back as well, so it just looks really, really good. Prius kind of looks worse the further you got back, but the proportions look tighter, more balanced, and they mucked this right up on the Prius. It just looked a bit of a bit of a mess, really. The headlights are narrower on the front, the roof line is lower, and there's a strong line running from the front wheel arch all the way through the rear door, basically. So let's talk about it and when it's coming, and what it's going to cost and what the specs will be and that sort of stuff, and also just what we can expect in terms of range and performance and where it's going to be sold in the world. So Toyota say that this new Corolla is built on the TNGA platform, but it is heavily revised to support hybrid and full battery electric powertrain. So you can buy it as a hybrid and you can buy it as a battery vehicle. Not just electric. Australian reports suggest that it will go on sale here by 2027, with production starting next year in 2026. That fits Toyota's broader electric vehicle rollout plan, which includes 10 new electric models by 2026. So if you're waiting for a proper Toyota EV that is not a crossover or SUV or anything like that, you want a normal car like a Prius or a little hatchback or something a bit bigger or like a wagon, I think those things are going to start coming in. But there was just this massive delay in the last 5, 6, 7 years where they just didn't seem to care very much about electric vehicles. Even though the BZ4X is actually really, really good, it kind of got not the best ratings or reviews from reviewers, but I think maybe as soon as 1 or 2 people said something a bit negative, it kind of got parroted around, I guess, because people don't want to be saying something that opposes what other big industry reviewers are saying. I guess that is kind of what was happening, because it was actually quite a good vehicle. Apart from the 12-volt batteries constantly dying on basically lots of Toyotas, but not necessarily only the BZ4X. But I literally saw a comment the other day, someone saying 12-volt batteries, 2 of them broken in 2 years. So pricing is still speculative, but we can make a good guess based on what Toyota is doing elsewhere in the world. The Toyota Corolla Hybrid starts at just over 32 grand in Australia, in Australian dollars, which is about £16,000, by the way. And the top spec ZR Hybrid is around 40, and a full electric vehicle version will probably sit between 40 and 50, maybe 45, something like that. And I think it's worth it, so it'd be a good car. And any more than 50, I don't think they're going to sell too many. And depending on the battery size as well, so there'll be an entry-level version and a bigger battery version. They'll probably just stick to 2. Power and range, they've not been confirmed, obviously, but analysts expect, because we know about the TNGA platform and what the industry is kind of wanting, it will probably come with a 60 to 70 kilowatt hour battery and somewhere between 350 450 kilometers of real-world WLTP range. Toyota has never been obsessed with headline numbers or anything like that. They're more about consistency, and I don't mean consistently telling us that solid-state batteries are coming or hydrogen cars are coming, because they're very good at that, promising that every year, because they're always coming next year, but they never do. But they're more about efficiency and reliability, so don't expect blistering acceleration, but expect it to be solid and refined. It will most likely feel like a legit Toyota, even though a lot of people say the quality of Toyotas has gone down over the last 15 years. I'd have to agree, but still very, very good and industry leading, I think. Toyota's finally starting to take EVs seriously. I think they can see the end of their industry in the next 10 years, so I think they need to figure that out. And even though they've been making more profit than they've ever made before, ever in the last year, record profits, for years, they've been very, very cautious, almost dismissive, while other companies like BYD, Hyundai, Tesla, and a few other companies I could name, they have basically sprinted ahead. And it worked in places like Japan, Australia, where hybrids still sell really, really well, but the world's basically moved on, I think, at this point, and Toyota knows it. They've now committed more than 7 trillion yen, which is a lot of money, more than I earn in a week, around 45 billion US dollars toward electrification, and they've built new battery factories. So they're taking it more seriously, obviously, and they're developing their solid state cells and trying to get them passed through tests, actually, as we speak, and working with suppliers like Panasonic and Idemitsu. Their new CEO, a chap called Koji Sato, has said that the company must, quote, must move faster. He's very, very right. The plan to sell 3.5 million electric vehicles a year by 2030, which is a massive jump from where they are now, is a very big goal, I think, especially for Toyota, where they basically sold, I think was it 1,000, or was it 300 and something, or 1,000 BZ4Xs sold in Australia last year. Not very many at all. So this Toyota Corolla is not just a concept, it's probably going to come something like you see now. It's a sign that Toyota's starting to pivot properly, and they're actually making, big decisions, and they tend not to change much between concept and production. So the Prius, also the CHR, even the old FT86, they came out looking almost identical to their show versions. So if you like how this looks, the good news is that you will be able to probably go buy one that looks pretty much the same as that, I guess, and it will be probably a good car at a decent price. And I think this is the moment Toyota's whole strategy starts to pivot, and we'll see Toyota be in a completely different place, because they're in, at least in a lot of people's minds, in say Australia or in Europe and England, a bit of a dark place in this last couple of years. And for years they have been able to rely on hybrid dominance. The Prius, the Corolla hybrid, RAV4 hybrid, all of them sold massive numbers. Really, really great cars, very reliable. Basically just don't break, apart from the batteries keep failing, and gave Toyota the reputation of being sensible, efficient. But hybrids have a limit, especially in this world now that we're in, where governments are starting to really interfere with the automotive industry and really put a lot more rules in place than they used to in the 80s and 90s to encourage cars to become electric, basically. So they're bridging technology, they're emerging technology, as I would call them, hybrids. And so I don't think that was obviously the destination, it was just something until batteries got better. Batteries have now gotten better. So every market that Toyota depends on is changing faster, way faster than anybody expected. Europe is tightening emission laws. The UK bans new petrol and diesel sales. Should be by 2035 unless they alter that. China's now flooded with affordable EVs from BYD, MG and Geely. Even the US as well, where Toyota's always had a huge presence, is throwing billions at EV incentives. In Australia, even with slower uptake, people are now starting to skip hybrids completely, go straight to full electric vehicles, because you can literally just go buy an electric vehicle and it will do 500-600 kilometers. So at that point, people aren't really concerned about electric cars being slow or milk floats or silly or weird or not able to do a trip to a local town to see their kids or something. They work the same, basically. I mean, for example, if you got a little hatchback from, let's say, 2010, 2015, you got a little... I always use these as a benchmark because they are very, very big. They're a popular car, basically, over the last 20 years. So you can get the Honda Jazz, Toyota Yaris. They will do 700 kilometers, 600 or 700 kilometers on a tank. The red light comes on if you go on a motorway at 100 kilometers an hour. You can go get a BZ4X, or not a BZ4X, a Zeekr 7X, for example, now, and it will do a 500, 600, something like that. It will do. It depends how slow you drive and the route you take, but a really big chunk of that. So it's not really like you couldn't reconcile them. The numbers are such now that you can actually compare electric vehicles and petrol vehicles in terms of range and the experience that you'd have owning it. And from almost everybody, I think it's at least 95%, people generally are very happy that they've gone electric. And so that's really, really brilliant. Toyota can see the writing on the wall. If they don't make the shift now, they will risk losing the markets that have built up their empire. And the thing with Toyota is when they finally decide to move, they don't muck around. They don't do it halfway. They will go all in. They will standardize everything. They will build it at scale. They will get costs down and they will make it reliable. They're pretty good at that sort of stuff. So they already said that they want to cut battery production by 40, or cut the cost of battery production down by 40% by the end of this decade, in the next 4 years, 5 years. So that's the kind of efficiency Toyota is known for. Slow to start, a little bit not so eager, I suppose, a little bit late out of the gates, but relentless once the process begins, and they plan the long game, and they always have played the long game. So the real reason this pivot's happening right now, I think, is competition. Obviously, they're watching Chinese EVs come in, flood the market, consume it, basically, and globally, that's just happening all over. In Europe, Southeast Asia, Latin America as well, BYD is exporting to dozens of countries. MG is selling record numbers in the UK. And they're bringing out brilliant cars with very large range. Tesla's still dominating with profits as well, even though they had a big dip and then their sales have gone up again. And for a company that has built its reputation on being #1 in reliability, that's people. If you want a car that works, where all the switches work, you buy a Toyota. You don't muck around. So Toyota is making the Corolla EV. It's not just about the car itself. It's about it's a signal. It's a pivot change. Things are changing with Toyota. Hopefully, they're not going to be in a dark place in 5 years. We'll hopefully see more of them. It shows that Toyota is adapting to a world where combustion engines will eventually disappear, of course, and they're not about to be left behind. You can already see the change in tone as well from the leadership, the engineers, and the bosses and that sort of stuff. The CEO is obviously a forward thinker, and the old CEO left. He was not a big fan of electric vehicles at all. It is a smart move. The Corolla name carries a lot of weight. It's the best-selling car nameplate in history. 50 million Corollas have been sold globally, and turning it electric basically gives a way to bring the level that brings their loyal customers into the market, buying an electric vehicle and staying with Toyota. They will do probably quite well with it. So they're probably going to be looking at 2027 arrival, Australia, mid-40s for pricing, 450 kilometre range, something like that. And a design that I think basically looks 80, 90, it will look 80 or 90% the same as the concept. And I think that's a really nice thing. It looks a beautiful car. It actually looks like a car that a lot of people will just want to own. Just the other day, I saw one of their latest Toyota Camrys going past me. Very good looking. I've always been quite surprised how good looking the last few Camrys have been. I'd really like to know what people are thinking about this. Should Toyota have done this years ago? Are they arriving on time, or are they late to the party? Are they going to be able to swindle it and be successful with this? Are they going to compete with the Chinese because they're a legacy brand, because they're Toyota? Because it's Toyota, they obviously have a lot of history. Everyone knows what a Toyota is and what that really means. So please let me know in the comments, and you're very welcome to join as a member. These are the channel members on screen now, and you can join as a member. Chuck me a few dollars on buy me a coffee, or on YouTube. You can be a YouTube member as well. And yeah, feel free to subscribe if you like. Yeah, thanks for joining me, and see you in the next video.